Good morning, everyone. Our today's lecture is on dyslexia part 3. In today's lecture, we will discuss about diagnosis of dyslexia, how we will diagnose dyslexia. So before we begin with the topic, let's recall the previous two lectures. In part 1, we have discussed about the definition of dyslexia, that it's a learning disorder that affects ability to read, write, spell and speak. Then the etiology, that it runs in families. Then epidemiology, that it affects 80% of children and common in both boys and the girls. Then clinical manifestations, that the main reason behind difficulty in speaking and reading and writing is phonological weakness. Then we have discussed what is phonological weakness, what is phonology, and what is phonological awareness. Then clinical manifestations of spoken language were mispronunciations, lack of fluency in the speech, smoothness in the speech, inability to come up with the verbal response quickly, word finding difficulty, struggling in decoding, word recognition. Then listening comprehension is difficult, difficulty in spelling, handwriting is very bad. Then child avoid reading aloud or reading independently. Then sign and symptoms vary from person to person. The person reads and writes very slowly. Slow readers, confused with the order of the letter in the words, puts the letter in the wrong place, have poor spelling. Then difficult for them to carry out the sequence of directions, struggling in planning and organization. But these children are very good in other activities. They are very good creators, creative thinking and problem solvers. Then we have discussed that symptoms vary from person to person, and symptoms become more prominent when the child starts going to school and focus on how to read and write. Then symptoms in the preschool children: delayed speech development, speech problems, not able to pronounce long words properly like helicopter. So he will say helicopter or beddy tear instead of saying teddy bear. Jumbling up of the phrases and unable to pronounce long words. Then little understanding of the rhyming schemes like a cat sat on a mat. So they have difficulty in playing rhyming games, or Jack and Jill went up the hill. Then symptoms in school age children: problem learning the names and sounds of letters, difficulty in answering the questions or reading the questions, writing speed is very slow, difficulty in learning the sequence of the days of the week or the alphabets, poor phonological awareness. Then symptoms in the teenagers: difficulty in revising for exams, difficulty in copying the notes or taking the notes, trying to avoid reading and writing wherever possible, difficult to remember the pin number, poor spelling, etc. Now, in today's lecture, we will discuss how can we diagnose dyslexia. So let's begin with our topic, part 3, diagnosis of dyslexia. Part 3, continuation, diagnosis of dyslexia. So, a large achievement gap between typical and dyslexic readers is evident as early as first grade, and it persists throughout adolescence. Means there is a wide achievement gap between the normal typical readers and the dyslexic readers. And this achievement gap is obvious, it is evident as early as first grade. And this gap, it persists throughout adolescence. Now, I'll show you a graph in the next slide. So the findings in the graph, they will provide a strong evidence for early screening and identification of the early intervention for young children who are at risk for dyslexia. In short, we need to say that there is a large achievement gap in the grades between the typical and the dyslexic readers, and this gap can be obvious, is evident as early as in the first grade, and this gap, it persists throughout adolescence. And by looking at these readings, these readings are helpful for early screening and identification, for early intervention for the children who are at increased risk for dyslexia. Here is a graph showing grades 1 through 9 in typical and dyslexic readers. So here are the grades 1 to 9, grades in the school. Here are the readings. Yellow dots are showing typical readers and the blue dots are showing dyslexic readers. Now in this graph, we can clearly see that there is a wide achievement gap between the typical and the dyslexic readers. Wide achievement gap between the typical and the dyslexic readers, and this gap is evident as early as first grade. So these findings, the findings which are there in the graph, they are very helpful for early screening and identification of the early intervention for young children at risk of dyslexia. So by looking at this graph, by looking at these findings, these are very helpful for early screening and intervention for the children at risk of dyslexia. And in this graph, we can clearly see that there is a large achievement gap between the typical and the dyslexic readers. The gap is very wide between the typical and the dyslexic readers. And this gap can be evident as early as in the first grade. Next, evidence-based screening can be carried out as early as kindergarten and also in grade 1 to 3 by the child's teacher. Now this screening, evidence-based screening, it can be done, it can be carried out as early as in the kindergarten years and also in the grades 1 to 3 by the school teachers, by the teachers in the school, by the child's teacher. The response of the teachers to a small set of questions, 10 to 12 questions, they can predict a pool of children who are at risk for dyslexia with a high degree of accuracy. 10 to 12 questions are given to the children and that can predict a pool of children who are at risk for dyslexia with a high degree of accuracy. And that set of questions, that test can be very accurate and that can predict a group of children who are at risk for dyslexia. Dyslexia is a clinical diagnosis and history is especially critical. Now, dyslexia is a clinical diagnosis and careful detailed history is very crucial in such cases. The history is very important. Detailed history, careful history taking is especially critical in diagnosing dyslexia. The clinician seeks to determine through history, observation and psychometric assessment if there are unexpected difficulties in reading. The physician must seek to determine through careful detailed history, his own observation and psychometric assessment. Now psychometric is, it's a field of, it's a study which is concerned with the technique, theory of techniques of the psychological measurement. It's a study which is concerned with the technique of psychological measurement. It refers to the field in psychology and education that is used for testing, measurement, assessment and such activity. So psychometric assessment, dealing with the psychological measurement. So the physician must seek to determine through detailed history, observation and psychometric assessment if there are unexpected difficulties in reading. Means the physician must carefully observe through detailed history or through his own observation or through psychometric assessment whether there are unexpected difficulties in reading based on the person's intelligence, chronological grade, level of education or professional status, and associated linguistic problems at the level of phonological processing. This we have discussed in the last lectures, phonological processing. So it's the duty of the physician, the clinician, to carefully observe the child through detailed history or through his own observation or through psychometric assessment that whether if there are any difficulties in reading or any other associated linguistic problems at the level of phonological processing. Some schools use a response to intervention technique or approach to identify reading disabilities. Now, some school uses a response to intervention technique. Now, response to intervention is, it's a response to intervention. It is a technique, it is a process which is used by the school teachers or the educators to help the children or to help the students who are struggling with their skills, with their abilities, or who have difficulties in learning. Every teacher will use a intervention. That's why its name is response to intervention. So every teacher will use intervention, that is a set of the different set of the teaching procedures, different techniques of teaching procedures. So every teacher will use interventions, that is a set of the teaching procedures with every student to help them in the classroom. So response to intervention technique, it's, or we can say it's a multi-tier approach for the early identification and support of the children with learning difficulties. And in this technique, the teacher uses interventions or a set of teaching procedures with the students to help them in the classroom to cope up with their reading disabilities. So some schools uses response to intervention approach to identify reading disabilities. Once the diagnosis has been made, dyslexia is a permanent diagnosis and need not to be reconfirmed by new assessment. So if once the clinician has made the diagnosis that it's a case of dyslexia, after his careful observation, psychometric assessments, careful history, once he has made the diagnosis that it's a case of dyslexia, then it is a permanent diagnosis and it does not need to be reconfirmed by new assessment. Now, till now we have discussed how can we diagnose dyslexia by formal screening. Now, for informal screening, in addition to the careful history is very essential. But for informal screening, the primary care physician in the office setting can listen to the child's read aloud from the child's own grade level reader. Now, what happens? We have discussed in the clinical manifestations that the dyslexic children are very slow readers, and when they are forced to read aloud, they make certain errors. So for informal screening, in addition to the careful history, the physician can listen to the child read aloud. So when the child will read aloud, he will make errors and it would be confirmed that it's a case of dyslexia. So for informal screening, the primary care physician can listen to the child read aloud from the child's own grade level reader. Oral reading is a sensitive measure of reading accuracy and fluency. That is very obvious because these dyslexic children are very slow readers. They have difficulty in reading, and oral reading is a sensitive measure for them, and it's a sensitive measure of reading accuracy and fluency, whether the child is reading fluently or not, whether he is making pauses or is hesitating or giving pauses every time after every sentence. So it's a sensitive measure of reading accuracy and fluency. Oral reading is a sensitive measure for reading accuracy and fluency. Thank you. Till now we have discussed about the diagnosis of dyslexia. In the next lecture we will discuss about the management of dyslexia. Till then, thank you.